If you are a superhuman elite, you can even opt to carry a complementary and a defensive safety net works best. And a defensive safety net works best if killers do not know you have it. If you Electromagnetic bulletproof vest concept. Omni directional metal projectile protective defense system. Attract/deflect bullets like a god. We take a ring magnet, a battery, an audio recorder, and a CPU. Now when the bullet is fired, the device begins to create stroboscopic electromagnetic pulse, saving energy for not having to send waves all the time, only when a bullet shot is detected. And preferably the location is even detected to be able to send a magnetic disturbing field in a targeted direction, to meet the bullet mid-air, as soon as it can. The sooner it can be activated, the more the magnetic field has traveled, the earlier it can disturb the bullet's flight path, safer and further from the possible victim. Without having to depend on a human's reaction time, as the device is triggered by the sound of a bullet and calculates its direction, maybe with multiple audio sensors. This would be a ring magnet front and back, providing omnidirectional metal projectile protection. It would look a lot like Iron Man, but the system must be hidden on top of a electricity shielding or blocking inner suit perhaps, allowing us to burst out incredible energies without endangering the dove. And a defensive safety net works best if killers do not know you have it. If you are a superhuman elite, you can even opt to carry a complementary battery super belt, allowing for more safety. No one will see you wearing it, you little dove you. If you're lucky, it will even save you from directed energy weapons, you little dove, you. I am going to need to do experiments. Charging a cylinder with a car battery, seeing if we can send out enough magnetic field strength or power, for early deflection. Or if we can attract the projectile to a safe place or controlled location on the body vest. If the bullet is aimed at the head, and the projectile is being pulled down to the safety of the chest, would also be a solution. End result, life. The smaller the weave of the Faraday cage, and the thinner the system, the more divine can you get. And don't forget to wear matching fashionable rubber soles, we don't want to be grounded this time. Protect yourself like a god. Non-lethal self-defense staff concept. Print cylindrical sections, stack them up into a staff shape, full with lithium-ion batteries. Have a stylish snake head on top, firing deterring microwaves through its focusing eye lenses, outward. A built-in camera targets the eyes and uses the camera's red eye detection and focal length to target the attacker's eyes non-destructively, only temporarily blinding when the attacker tries to actually see and his eyes are exposed. Also target the same area with focused ultra-high frequencies, disorienting the attacker further. Design the handle part with GPS zero beacon and screen, have your personal scout drone follow the staff, provide aerial views to its master. But wait, there's more. If I was biologically created to wear big black protective lenses filled with cameras instead of my own eyes, I would naturally be protected against the lasers tracking my eyes. If I was bioengineered and had no real ears, but microphones, my ears would naturally be protected against directed UHF attacks. If my body had a thicker protective skin, red blood would be less visible, showing the skin to look much more gray. And I would naturally be better protected against microwave radiation attacks, or space-type environments. If I was born without gravity, my body would grow longer, and weaker. If I had grown a small slit as a mouth, I probably have no need for it much, like the absence of need for food and speech. Telepathic communication has no need for lips. If I had a small or absent nose, I might not even need to breathe oxygen, or need a much lower gaseous mix with oxygen to survive in. If I biologically engineered a larger head, I might be able to engineer and fit more contents in. If I had a device implanted into me at birth, or biologically grown into me, close to a few organs, able to give off an electric charge wirelessly, on another's command. Controlling the entity like a dog leashed to an electric shock collar. The device grown into a subject at birth, would naturally ping its location to its owner. The Greys might be a potent patent, for an avatar-like controlled vessel. It has some automation, but not much, as we could program the Bioshock collar, to recognize, listen in on, certain unwanted actions, and either punish them with pain, or kill them with death. I can command the victimized being to move as I want it to move, go where I want it to go, record audio and video there, perform actions there in my name, actions I would like to have been taken. Fully controlled biologically enslaved. The Greys' helpers are like avatars, dogs for their greenish shiny masters, without human ethics. Without human ethics, real human ethics, one can genetically perform miracles. Biology is technology. Without an ethical barrier in place, abominations will occur. Imagine being born on a biological leash. I hope man is only psychologically enslaved, but our hearts are easily stopped. Man is psychologically naked and not well protected, naturally. Re-entry vehicle, metal parachute concept. During re-entry, the bottom of the craft forces the air around it, into the top metal parachute shape, compressing the flow, allowing only a little to pass through the apex location. If you slow down your fall, by shape and guided resistance, you will need less energy rising up once more, actually saving energy. If you use the drone's motors at great height in reverse while falling down, you would be able to use the craft's slowed fall, and resistance to generate electricity using the motors. Now as generators, like an electric car regenerates from braking. Regenerating, from falling. This might add a little more airtime to the drone's total set of capacities. On top of photovoltaic cells covering both hemispheres, prolonging its flight times. Fill up the inner craft with a light gas, like a blimp, with a fast drone built around it, helping the craft to reach insane heights. This combined with insane speed, might allow us to finally pop the Earth's bubble. "360-degree pilot seat concept. A pilot seat, placed inside a spherical form, placed inside another spherical form, allows the pilot to be orientated, in any direction, or, the ship can be in any orientation. Keeping the pilot ground level headed. If the pilot command the craft to go left, the seat could pre-steer into the turn, and counter otherwise experienced forces on the bodily vessel. It could also function another way, the seat could delay, or even stay fixed with the craft's orientation. If the craft needs to perform an emergency barrel roll, the pilot seat can remain level inside the craft, while the craft rolls all around the pilot. If the pilot's private air bubble has air treatment inside, or connected on top, keeping it well pressurized, like normally a pilot's entire suit had to be. Now we would pressurize the air bubble and not the suit itself, leaving the pilot a lot more freedom of motion. So basically 3 planes in a sphere, in a squashed sphere. Outside the bubble can bearings be used between the 2 bubbles, and 3 motors for the 3 axis of motion, sensing the craft's outer hull motion. Quadro-ionic thruster drone, modular lifter kit, 3D print concept. Combine 4 modular, Scalable shapes included in the kit. Outer hull cylinder housing, cylinder shape inside which all other parts fit modularly. Dome shape, dome is fitted with tinfoil, both top and bottom, doubling the ionic wind surface, single dome shape. Center wire hull, hollow cylinder, to get the positively charged wire up through the lifter. The dome shape can be printed multiple times, doubling the ionic lifter surface every extra dome shape printed. The dome shape also works in the inverted orientation, a long outer hull cylinder can fit the system twice. This means the shape lifts fast, but can also descend fast, or find an exact hovering balance between them. One cylinder however will lift and descend in an erratic manner, one cylinder has no balance. Bottom shape holder, 4 or 8 battery holders in the negative space of the shell. Also holds the aluminum ring needed to attract, modeled into the shape to allow a ring to be fitted or mounted. It also serves as the holder for a double inverted drone motor, creating an drone lifter, assisted ionically. The drone motors refresh the air supply so we can keep creating new ions and use them, sending the wind up or down, or both. Important to note, the batteries can be fitted inside the holder shape, sending their power into the center axis, the center cylinder, transporting the energy up. Once up, we bend the wire down to power the dome sequentially down, one by one, making sure we positively charge the most upper dome first. And work our way downwards powering the stacked dome shapes inside the large cylinder holder. Then the ions will flow over the dome, as well as under the aluminum foil fitted dome shape. And is pulled down along both sides of the entire downward bent shape towards the lower attracting negatively charged aluminum ring, fitted into the lower shape holder. The lower shape holder is partly positive, namely on the outside of its structure, as the ring is the attractor for the ions on the outside of the structure. Then the aluminum ring is connected back to the negative side of the battery again, completing the circuit. In order to make a solid ionically lifting platform we can actually control, no matter the size or scale, we need 4 or more sides like a ionic lifter drone, you need 4, 8 or 16 holes in a smarta shape. Place these ionic lifter cylinders in each hole inside the squashed sphere shape. The scale is also modular, you can scale the entire model up. Depending on your printer size, you can cut the model in quarters, then support them, scale them up as large as your printer bed allows for a quarter, and then print 4 quarters. To assemble larger domes and cylinders etc. all 4 models can be cut in quarters, and can be scaled up. You can stack 4 or 8 domes per orientation, balance of mass is key. If you wire the cylinders inside the Smarties holes so that you can fill them with the ionic thruster cylinder as engines, and make sure you can apply power to them separately and controllably. You can steer the craft, like a normal drone, dipping 2 out of 4 ionic thrusters, dipping their way. If you packed all this inside yet another 2 have dome shapes, you can power a direction, and attract the ion flow, across the entire now disc-shaped ionized craft. I included the original 3dsmax file, for allowing further edit and customization of the ionic thruster system, allowing full modularity and freedom of scale. This way one can scale the entire size up or down to the drone motor size you own, the batteries you own, or amount of wire and tinfoil you are willing to use. 3 actual shapes make up the entire system. Use them at will. Oh, one final detail, I gave the shapes a 0.5 mm thickness. I believe a 3D printer should be able to print at this thickness using supports. Pool-sized plus 3D resin printing concept. Water could be used to automatically level entire 3D printers. If the entire printer, including the print bed, was made to float on a bed of water, it would always be perfectly level automatically. Maybe we can print a buoyant plastic material, directly on the level still water bed. If the printer accounts for buoyancy of total material amount used. Print the object up while it floats. Or using the water itself as a curing solution, use the UV light for solidification underwater. Like in a pool-sized printing environment. Much larger 3D resin prints could be made a reality. 4. Like building disc shapes, used for drones or panels for dome repairs. A crane and printing head can be placed above the pool to raise the cured print up above the water line of the resin printing pool. If there is just water and no pool, the 4 truss beams can be made to float buoyantly, automatically leveled by the water the printer floats on. Or use a few pre-made disc-shaped craft to move the prints in and out of place. If there is no pool available, and just open waters, just separate the waters from the waters first, like a square wooden box with 4 truss beams mounted to its corners. Scale is then no longer a problem, and the entire resin printer setup could be extended towards all sides as needed. Before any new craft's maiden flight, we can first pull it underwater in order to check the craft seals for proper functioning, below as above. Maybe they printed Earth's dome in a single go, as an entire buoyant pre-designed system. 4 truss beams are easily risen anywhere, then connected above, to have the classic 3D printer set up above the perfect water level. But ice sheets perfectly flattened, grown under downward gravity, would be a smarter way to build a geodesic domed ice palace, or igloo for giants. Use gravity to our advantage. We can build enormous disc-shaped craft, like a building dock for heavenly boats, or maybe 3D print submarines' outer hull shapes. The ability for mankind to build generational ships out on the ocean might be a little too much like the Tower of Babel, reaching up too high, getting burned by the sun. I wonder why Atlantis demonstrated to have so many circles, and where it went. We don't want to be building above Atlantis, leave them some room to come up and greet us again. This system will allow man to finally reach for the stars, and to then unsuspecting crash into them, falling back down. So more it be, for I am the Disc Father. Maybe a fun experiment, creating a 3D printed mold, for creating dome-shaped floating ice cube palaces. If we fixated 2 cups the same size and filled the negative space with water and then froze it, it might result in a double-domed floating Earth simulator. Maybe design them as 2 complementing halves, at first, possibly finding a function for the floating ice dome. Both domes have a flat base, that can be easily 3D printed in 2 prints, maybe even a single one if well designed. A single mold for the creation of a deep frozen functional system, would be a little more sexy for the brain. Question: does anyone know if this prop radial motor generator concept exists already? A light metal ring, with magnets attached to the rotor, and in its center a flywheel designed like a propeller, and the magnets are then powered electrically from the outside stator ring, allowing for more torque on the propeller as it is applied from the outside in, not from the small center axis out. Sort of like a inverted brushless electro motor where the magnets in the stator housing are made to turn, but instead of turning a small diameter center axis, the circled rotor blades are powered from the larger radius outer rotor ring, allowing us to apply much more torque and control on the propulsion system, perhaps even using the entire propeller disc as a flywheel. Mid-air electric regeneration from already generated motion, needed for flight. If half or even a quarter of the coils and magnets could be powered at the same time, like a setting, you could have the propeller turn slower, maybe the Hoover setting, where the motor finds a balanced speed. Or power it using a smaller amount of input coils in an opposite balanced manner. If the other half of the magnets, or a portion of them like a quarter, are used to generate power, then one half is used as a motor to turn the disc. And the other half uses the disc's self-created motion, to generate electricity again. Maybe an idea for the Searle drive. Creating 4 quarters or 2 halves of magnet sets, use part of the coils around the magnets to power them and generate motion of the drive. And use part of the coils to regenerate power from the motion already created by the same device. This way even more layers of flywheel propellers can be fit on top of each other, inside a single cylindrical duct shape housing them. Maybe I'll best try and draw it again. Changing the angles of the blades during rotation on the fly is a topic for another day. If one made a time-lapse photograph of part of the sky through a glass of water, then the part of the stars seen through water appear to move in the other direction. One can capture and demonstrate this optical directional difference in one optical illusion, a time lapse. Looking at the stars, all across our entire atmosphere, is as looking through a glass of water, changing the stars their apparent direction moving through the sky. Reaching the farthest possible observer, seeing through the most waters. My north is your north, but my south is not yours. Because the actual absolute space location of observers' personal south varies, all people around the world observing, just note their observations in their logbooks to be made looking south. This way they can all combine their collective observations of the south, even when made during different clock times, noting just south in their logbooks. But everyone's south is in actuality is a different south direction, but everyone just combined their observations for the south without thinking. I can see how someone thinking he discovered a second entirely new, to be named, half-sphere, got excited enough to rename every single star in the southern hemispheres to combine them into two half-spheres, forming a full spherical star screen. Believing himself to have discovered a spherical planet, from thinking it was flat before, quite the discovery for them, but they never realized how the half-sphere worked, how the atmosphere behaved. Why the same stars were never recognized, why Al-Sufi drew all the stars symmetrically, as a tool, to be able to recognize the exact same star constellations. As seen when standing on both sides of the plate. Standing inside the tropics ring, or standing outside the tropics ring, followed above our heads. No one has been able to decipher it. First thing I think is it looks like Egyptian zodiac, more detailed, then I see the center of the disk, displaying a star, Polaris, the center of our sky, counted 13 outer constellations. Now we have 12, used to be 13, as Draco was removed. Hello. Draco was removed. Left lower location I see Pisces. What else can we discover, by actually looking at the disk? Science LOL. It's a star map, a zodiac, pretty obvious. Probably hiding things again if they couldn't figure this out, must have been on purpose. Probably because it shows Draco, and we don't have this constellation anymore in modern times. I wonder why. Next question, please. They wouldn't invent an entire southern hemisphere by renaming its mirror image to invent and create an entire whole sphere from what is actually only have a sphere, would they? I've noticed Serpens constellation is the only one that is divided up, with a symmetrical man in the middle holding the snake, that has two symmetrical curls on both ends of the beast. Coincidental? I think not. The serpent bearer. The Al-Sufi drew every constellation twice. He wanted a tool to be able to recognize them in the sky, when turning in counter directions. The mirrored drawings allow him to recognize the same star groups in the northern hemisphere direction, as well as in the southernmost outer ring apparent direction. It was a tool. He knew the stars would appear differently when standing in opposite directions. Apparently a few Dutch guys went over to the outer ring they thought to be the southern hemisphere. Once there they randomly during the year started naming the stars, the same stars we see. But moving in the other direction optically, actually using the Dutch invention of telescopes. Because they just started to name them, the clock was at a certain position, they literally renamed all the exact same stars again, entirely new lines drawn between them, forming different connections, giving them completely new names, as seen from the outer ring, turning counterclockwise. Most likely named during another time of year than the original people who invented the constellations standing on the inner circle, north, the center, for the first time. Dutch guys got back, created the sphere projection, because thought they had discovered what they thought to be, another complete entire new discovery of another half of the dome, forming in their minds the sphere, allowing them great fame by getting to name a lot of new constellations. Chances are they started observing randomly during the year, were delighted to draw down new lines, while actually formed from 2 times the exact same data sets, of which one is completely inverted. Because of how we observe them and from where, and is actually perfectly mirrored, looking through our entire atmosphere. Like looking through a glass of water inverts the direction of arrow behind it, and now me, another Dutch guy is correcting them, and their invented sphere, the complete irony here. Give me back my globe please, people will think I'm so crazy, my dear God help me, for I will be ridiculed if this comes out, please just keep it our little secret. Don't share. If there is no actual full sphere of stars, then what remains is only half a sphere, e.g. what could be called a dome full of stars. That must be the reason the Sumerians only named the one northern hemisphere, because there only actually is one set of stars up above our collective heads. We all share the exact same up, but we look at the same up from different locations on Earth, in different directions of night in absolute space directions. The moving sun is one side always creating the night side by its absence on the opposite side of the disk. The absolute space directions of both our nights are always opposites. Plate whatever you wanna call it, Earth, as it was defined by the man. I should buy a few large real star maps, this should actually not be that hard to actually prove, that all our stars and their positions well recorded. But no one noticed how they are exactly mirrored, turning in opposite directions and how, and why. If the hypothesis turns out provably true, I demand my own constellation like Ophiuchus, or at least my own month name. Oak, I'll accept a single star named after me, Denenium. Thanks in advance. Or wait, which sounds better? Denisium, or Denenium. Only the fixed stars can be used to tell Earth time, because they circle Earth itself. The wandering stars are not fixated to the dome, this is why they are called wandering stars, and have their own orbits and thus times. All other stars are so incredibly stable, they can actually be used to tell time. Our simulations work perfectly, day by day by day. This can only ever happen if they were fixed, in relation to each other, forever. They have not changed, and they never will change. You can assume it will, but time will tell you, you are wrong. Peter Dirk Zoon Keizer, and Frederik de Houtman. These are the actual Dutch people that invented the sphere, from the same inverted to have dome shapes. Wow, and now me, another Dutch guy corrects them, explaining what they thought, or did wrong, I hope not on purpose, oh the irony. But those Dutch guys aren't stupid. They didn't discover new constellations, neither did they invent just a few constellations, they invented exactly half, thereby self-creating a full sphere projection. From out of a single dome filled with stars. They probably didn't do it out of aesthetic reasons, as a sphere is more pleasing to not only our eyes, but also our mathematicians, astrophysicists, computer programmers and other brilliant minds, but their sanctified theory of gravity does not really play well under a dome. And physics in my humble opinion needs an object, not a light in the sky. An actual solid object, not a photo of it. If they both truly thought to have discovered Earth to be an actual sphere, instead of inventing a sphere from 2 apparently different halves, to hide the dome, then it must have made them feel really intelligent. Quite a special moment. This flat disk with center north might explain how two locations opposite each other can look towards the same center called north, while what they both call south, are not the same actual locations. In absolute space, actually standing north, or in the center, makes all stars visible at about the same distance from the center, but on the outside of the ring of land, half the stars are closer to the outside wall with stars, and the other half is much further, across the entire disk, that can't be seen, as the sun is now there while you experience your night, or absence of the sun to your locality. This explains why the sun is thought to be closer than the stars, namely because it actually is, by the time you observe it. Wow! If you stand in the inner circle, and the sun comes closer, its location above you is closer than the distance to the outer wall stars. This explains why the sunrise sun gets larger in apparent size, and the setting sun gets smaller again, optically, because it comes closer to you, and in turn moves away from you, decreasing in optical size, due to perspective, proving the sun to be local, not 93 million miles away. Because the sun moves east to west above our equator, it is either seen moving east to west, over north, or it's seen moving east to west, over south. I am in the inner circle, I see the sun moving east to west, over south, left to right in the sky. People in the south see the sun move to their personal unique east to west, yet in the reverse direction in their sky. Because their unique east and west are different than our actual east and west. Only north is the single one known point, the south is everywhere north is not. Every location opposite north tells us it is south, no matter its true direction in absolute space. This way we do not notice east and west in absolute space are the opposite locations for people standing across from each other. Same way two opposite people call their personal left and right differently, inverted in their absolute locations in space. My left hand would be closest to your right hand if we stood nose to nose. We both call the exact same location in absolute space, different. Two opposite compasses have a inverted east and west. Their north is the same, but their south both opposite locations in absolute space. Now, if all the southern hemisphere actually ever saw at any one time, was 6 actual constellations, seen twice while this inferring 12, expecting there to be 12. While the sun opposite the night always washes out all of the stars around its local location, also creating the night by its absence. These stars might not even actually exist as there are only ever stars seen away from the sun's location. Science likes to pretend the outcome of an experiment either proves one, or the other. As if they can exclude every other option, possibility, or explanation. Nothing must be, nature must not. Nothing must be either one, or the other, as to one can never prove, another or, does not exist. Nothing must be, I assume nothing, believe as little as I have to. Regarding man's serfdom, since its inception. What if reptilian shapeshifters took the human form of our heroes, our biggest stars, our biggest idols, our greatest leaders, to secretly gain our admiration, playing their roles well, fooling this entire plane of illusions? If they had access to unknown technology, to take on different shapes, while having a superior form, they could most easily win in sports as Adolphis, be the strongest, fastest. Even genetically engineered to sing the best. Genetically engineered to look the best,
this principle
most
embodies
symmetric,
the truth that
make the
there
most
is
money
gender.
out of all actors, winning roles through rigged competition. Effectively boycotting humans, genetically engineered to be the most intelligent. Nothing just came to be, nothing is a goddamn accident, everything is rigged against the sheep, rigged against mankind. Genetically engineered to camouflage themselves, enabling them to infiltrate an entire race and steal their destinies from them. Use their labor against them, use them as bio-batteries, forcing them to work harder, and longer, year after year. There is a reason our royalty does not live among man, secluded, all of their race in on it, working together, behind the scenes, having the most money, having the most power. Access to the best technology, literally power gained, by false idol worship. It's fucking biblical. They are literally family, the offspring of the famously cast down 300 families, 300 bloodlines. Reptilian in their true appearance, like Satan, as all of them angels, were of a single, highly intelligent, pre-existing, older race. We were created last, for a reason, our specs have a reason, we are genetically capped, genetically shackled, bound to this plane. God damn it, they're so intelligent, it's fucking biblical. 2,000-year head start, minimum. Another serpent just owned the garden. Eureka! Mankind is not in control of this plane, the serpent clearly is. If we admitted to having been fooled by them, if we admitted the possibility of higher intelligent life, if we admitted our egos are used against us, technology is used against us, time is used against us, we might one day finally be free of the toil forced on us by the gods. We are being actively kept down here, actively being dumbed down. We are a race or species with Stockholm Syndrome, where we are made to worship our enslavers, the actual perpetrators, hiding where no man will look, in plain mankind's sight. Technology, completely enslaved us, using our every 7 sins against us. Doing research on man openly, if you remember the last 2 years of goddamn draconian lockdown. When was your last vacation? Remember when man still was able to maintain a full family with one salary? Mankind is totally enslaved, no bullet ever even fired, totally blinded, disengaged, lulled into sleep, totally civilized, domesticated servants to the gods. They think us animals, still digging their gold from the mines, still the gold of our entire plane flows to them through our collective efforts. Nothing man wants has happened the last 2,000 years, I'm telling you, most the gold is no longer here, they still send it back to their home planet, just as the tablets, literally state. The past, for immortals is also the now. If you don't want to believe in immortality, because our corrupt human scientist will never ever tell you had they discovered it. That's fine, go ahead, but they're already letting us know they think it's getting a little crowded down here. The serpent literally spoke, God damn it, and another just owned the entire garden. He actually, literally spoke, and our forefather tried to warn us, but go ahead, trust the science bro. The first fucking chapter of Genesis, the book you all believe in, single-handedly mentions 3 different intelligent life forms already. Satan the shiny one, the reptilian scaled shapeshifter, was cast down here, and we got to deal with him. In his reptilian appearance, he was not alone, as he shared it with the other angels. The books even tell us he could change form. The books also tell us Jesus himself could change his apparent form, shift shapes, you can read it as the Gnostics wrote it. Banned, of course, like many other highly informative and useful books, removed. God damn it, they got us good. And all who read will laugh it away, going back to work, the next day, slaving, for them. Go ahead, shrug it off, laugh it up. Make fun of me, I dare you. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me you don't feel it's all a bit off. I wonder what happened if I built a detection device. Disturb their holographic technology, disturb their focus, needed to hold the human form, capture their true form in the highest resolution, super high FPS, undeniable proof. God fucking hell. We are so programmed beyond all belief. Programmed in our responses, nothing in history has ever been real down on this motherfucker. It's one big historic lie, getting us to do their shit, laughing their asses off at these people, moving themselves to the slaughterhouse. They are mass killing us openly, managing our numbers, dominating us, feeding us, our bellies as well as our minds. God is not allowed to exist, science is getting us nowhere, more and more taxes, keeping us tired, keeping us down, keeping us individually, away from our families, playing us, separating us, dividing us, ruling us. If I was evil, I'd almost respect the brilliance of their gig. Evolution, haha, yeah, but not here. God, I'm surrounded by idiots, thinking themselves, the top of the food chain, fully believing themselves to be, the apex of all evolution, their arrogance their downfall. Once they come out of their closet, will you still worship them? All you see around you is decay of mankind, devolution, as copies, of copies, of copies as we are we bred by them. We don't get their upgrades anytime soon. Everything existed, before mankind, not that hard to understand. We gained consciousness last, got taught what they needed us to perform. Got taught what they needed of us. Man did not invent fire, man did not even invent the wheel, it all existed long before us, before this human zoo got built. There's no actual human law in existence against exposing and killing intelligent reptilian draconian slave race drivers, that I'm aware of. I'll show myself out. God. Thank God you warned us, not to worship idols. The court makes the king, the production crew are stars. They worship them because they pay them their big salaries, in turn teaching others, by their example, that they as artists are somehow special. In turn sometimes convincing the star to think he actually is one, completing the cycle. I am going to dig a hole under my house, and secretly bioengineer a dwarf race into full submission, have their lives be wholly all about running on a treadmill. Generating the spirit power for my house, and sell what is left or extra. I will not even ever tell them about the upper world in their heaven, for I will be their jealous god. All them dwarves will worship me, their mighty one alone. Maybe microwave a few chameleons or crocs. I'll probably have to teach them a few things on how to survive down there. We could even be a secret hidden away slave colony, hidden in a gigantic diver's bell, under the surface of a much larger planet's ocean, not to be found, we can't look out anywhere. We see nothing, we are blinded, by design. There is better, there is more, there is different, all we need to do is admit to have been fooled, and take full control of this paradise plane, as well as our human destinies. Wake the fuck up, Neo, I know your brain hurts. My God, even the Lord's serpent rhymes with the Lord's servant. Who's with me? Are you not entertained? Asterisk pop, mic check. Maybe I'm actually the only mind in this entire NPC-filled simulation, created especially and for testing me and my soul personally? Nah, it couldn't be, but could it though? Man is still in the dark ages, their golden age, yet to come. Reminder, I have no suicidal tendencies, just a functioning mind. I would wait at the grocery store in line behind a serpent, I just don't like them having and using an unfair advantage over us, using us, enslaving us, killing us, and eating us. Fresh bodies for them to harvest, all over Ukraine. A true feast for them once more. Where you think our elite satanic rituals actually come from? The world is a true stage, wait, is that my alarm clock? Omnis vestri subtructio es servis ad nobis. Note to self, find Thoth's text, warning us about this very occurrence. Thoth knew, for he is one of them, the fallen angles. Shifting shapes, taking on new forms on different planes of existence. I for one refuse to put a child onto this plane, born in serfdom. And so do we as a species devolve. Many people feel something is way off, this is it. Let Facebook be my tombstone. We are living a completely scriptured false reality. Call me crazy, I have been studying these ancient documents for 25 years now, it's all coming together quite nicely, making notes, contemplating, my mind is in optima forma. But it probably won't be long now. It was all foretold, but man too busy. The past is now, the future is now, everything is here the same time. They wrote down what they saw, using their best words. Angels and demons have a lot in common. Both can hide in plain sight. Both have wings, or can take in wings. If you can't see there is a spiritual battle going on for the souls of man, then I'm afraid we are quite lost. Nothing new under the sun. I am unrepresented. It's so obvious why they hide giants and fake dinosaur bones. No human morality allows for horrific genetic experiments that can go wrong and need a safety correction mechanism, resetting it all, in one swoop. A reptilian has no remorse, staring with a fresh slate, washing it all clean. It's biblical, I'm telling you. Start paying attention. Get serious. Wake up. They have control of the buttons. They send us and our kids off to war against each other, no remorse, easy decision for them. They can reset the entire simulation. They live among us, semi-among us, parasites of humanity. It's all so rigged, I'm beginning to believe God must be in on it. God and his appointed kings, his appointed priests, they're all in the know. Family, by seed. 300 of the mightiest companies are no coincidence, Microsoft, Hollywood a serpent's den, Disney a serpent's den, they're poisoning our kids, our food, our sky, our minds. We are weakened on purpose. I truly wonder how they got us this docile, must be the food. If you believe God to be immortal, then he is conscious right now, and so are his angels, even the fallen ones, living among us down here. Jesus appeared to have a high morality, a good being of hearth. In order to resurrect a soul, you will need a spare cloned body, a seat for the soul to house in. Royalty will probably have spare meat suits copy hanging around. One should not believe in all these gods, just do as they command. If we all just stayed home and quit same time, they'd have to renegotiate. Would be over with quite soon. People don't have an inkling of an idea of how powerful they are. We are the masses, able to turn the tables. We should invert the working class, breed them, break them and have them do the work for us. They're apparently intelligent enough to flip my burger. Delete them is the only way. Serpent-headed when the glamour was lifted, appearing as man unto man. What if our sun was the top view of Hades? None to hear these tormented souls screaming through space, eternally burning like a solar flame, fleeing hither and thither across what appears to us as a burning surface, a burning furnace. Reminding us daily of its presence. Bound to another plane, unable to escape its influence, hidden in plain human sight. If we are the above world, is the underworld right above us? What if only the outside surface only actually ever burned, to protect the star's inner contents? One man's ceiling, is another man's floor, as one man's floor, is another man's ceiling. As above so below. They might be looking straight up to a watery paradise plain, thirsty in their mouths, longing for a drop of earth's fresh water. Shackled, forced to watch, freedom of movement, freedom of will, right above their heads, for all the generations, all of time. Like Earth's surface dwellers, so must the watchers have a solid place to recharge their heavenly boats. What better location to replenish their spirits with vitamin D? Far through space have I seen with my thoughts, far through space have I been with my mind. No mere mortal hath ever seen this perspective before, as it can only be seen by the mind. A man can only learn to speak, read, and write from another man. People who aren't taught will never speak a language, let alone a complete one. Like a child, the first speaking man must have been taught language. Also, the older the book, the wiser the words appear to be, ever closer to the source. Strange, how literally every single earliest book, E.G. tablet, written and preserved, most all had the same topic. Most all of them. Even the very first ever spoken word, must have been heard, for without an ear to hear, there is not need for speech. He who knows all, has no need for speech, as none can be God, alone without any subjects. Moon phase table clock concept and black hole simulator concept, solar eclipse simulator bonus 1. Big Bang simulator bonus 2. If one had a rotating base, rotating at the speed of the moon around the Earth, and a center light source, combined with a light blocking outer ring mounted onto it, containing in its mid a one-way translucent, laser-engraved disc, containing an image of the moon's surface and its monochrome features on the front side, combined with having a black, non-translucent backside. Then by having the disc be lit, a perfect one-to-one image of the full moon will appear on your home wall. Because the disc only allows light through one way, by turning it, a highly specific portion of the projection will no longer shine through to reach the wall, thus appearing to wax and wane. The speed of the turn of the base and disc could match with man's calendar exactly, allowing us to use the wall projected moon as a moon phase table clock, matching reality. Demonstrating the current moon phase, somewhere around you on a wall of your room, matching the direction the real moon should appear on the outside sky. Should one go outside and provided the weather was clear, stop the rotation of the base, with the dark light blocking circle facing directly towards the source, and a perfect replica of the average black hole will appear unto you. Without any of the dangers of actually being local to, or in the presence of a real hole in space, like being sucked into it, and being spaghettified. Calm thyself and do not worry, the simulated black hole is scientifically proven, perfectly safe for long study sessions. But wait, if you order now I'll throw you in the free sun and solar eclipse simulator disc TM. The front side of the one-way translucent solar disc is a clear lens shape allowing all the light through, turn the discs black. Light blocking backside towards the projector and a solar eclipse will appear to occur right in front of your eyes like magic. Now, listen up, and listen up closely, only for the first 100 lucky orders, get a free translucent astrolabe star disk, named the Big Bang Simulator TM. Including the messy objects laser etched into the model. Now, in order for these lucky first 100 owners to simulate the Big Bang, one must simply move the translucent star disk closer, or further from the source. Move and place the disk closer to the source, and the entire fully simulated universe begins to appear to shrink. Now, move the translucent star disk further away from the source, and you are simulating the expansion of our entire visible universe. Mark my words, it will be glorious unto the your brain and mind will actually be witness to the actual simulated and sped up expansion of our entire visible universe. Asterisk, the Elite Edition is motorized both for implosion and expansion, and the entire center disk rotates around its own center star on the disk, Polaris. Witness and behold the power of the Big Bang, right from the comfort of your own home. Have your mind blown by the realism of the simulation. a beautiful optical illusion, a fully optical universe, formed by projected light. Asterisk batteries and the creation of space not included in the package. Royal Planetarium Crown Projector Concept. Shine a laser through a slowly turning translucent star map engraved disc, project the light upon a fixed center diamond in the apex of the extended sky, and impress the entire room with a room-scale planetarium reflected off of it in all directions. Batteries could be hidden, designed into the base space, maybe a on/off button, somewhere hidden in the base as well. If the translucent astrolabe could hold a little water, like a petrified dish, with the stars laser edged in most precisely, one could actually use the throne room walls for study purposes. Even the messy objects could be laser engraved into the disc, adding to the spectacle. Make the night all about you, the center of all attention, providing your court a most wondrous spectacle. Lasers do not reflect back from space equals inverted optical sky distance measure. If the end of air is space, then no light can reflect back from that location. The furthest end of the laser visually demonstrates where air ends and space begins. If we are on a sphere, the atmosphere should perfectly match the Earth's curve. If however we found ourselves under a dome, the gases floating in it will also have a flat horizon, a certain height level in the sky like water in a pool. The laser will then appear to detect a flat ceiling, as the gases float in layers, matching Earth's sea level, if one imagined all the laser ending end locations. It's like detecting and mapping the Earth's shape, feeling the ends of our atmosphere with the tip of your laser light. If it's curved, you can draw a square that will appear warped in a longer exposure shot. If the Earth was flat, the laser could draw a perfect square under perspective on the flat layered ceiling. He who demonstrates evolution has proven creation. Guys, my math is terrible, please remind me, was one apple plus one apple pear, or was it one pear apple? One apple pear, right? And if I had 15 times, how do I equally divide 15 times over 3 velocities again? Light-bending disc-shaped camouflage concept. Record the sky above the craft, project the sky below the craft. As above, so below. Amen. I am currently working on a manifold of safety systems for my personal disc-shaped transportation system. Mind you, these are all defensive in their nature. 1. It has 16 redundant drone motors, with separated electrical grids. If one is destroyed, or even 12, the vehicle can land safely. 2. 4 or even 8 parachutes with falling detection, mounted on the top dome shape of the craft, above and free from all radial motion of the rotors. 3. 18x Faraday cage shielding, 16x duct shielding the drone motors, 2x top and bottom half fully shielding other electronics. 4. It's buoyant. If you can make it down safely, even with half a ship, and there is water, the craft will float. When intact, a storm-resistive and unsinkable arc. 5. Its shapes are most strong, and highly deflective, deflects spears, arrows, radar, wind, bullets, energy rays, light, highly aerodynamic. 6. High-tech camouflage, fooling the eye. Record sky above, display sky below. Be like water, my sky chameleon, blend in an average sky color. Nearly no visible light traces nor any heat signatures to be possibly detected. 7. Location and speed. The craft is highly agile, can change height and location instantly, which a jet cannot. Incredibly fast and agile, perform barrel rolls or pre-programmed defensive maneuvers. Smallest possible turning radius. 8. Smokescreen, cold smoke created L up high, will create a cloud-like camouflage to hide the craft amongst, for those days when there is a clear sky. Possibly mix in reflective particles, disorienting and confusing vision. 9. Focused, strong, stroboscopic light, flashes to temporarily disable a offensive foe's vision, as an emergency self-defense act, as we don't want him to crash, even after firing off many 0.50 calories. Towards my craft's general direction. Wise like a serpent, unarmed like a dove. 10. Silent. The craft's motors in the ducts and inside the two halves a sound dampening acoustic treatment material is fixed, thus almost no audio signature possibly detected. 11. Go subnautical. Land on water. Fill up the ship's ballast tanks, stay under the surface for 2 weeks. Plenty of space on board the self-containing craft for a circulating air filtration system. 12. Bring the floor, e.g. bring atmosphere, with the craft to push off of or an ultralight gas inside the craft container, reach incredible heights. Use the trapped atmosphere internally, providing it to the motors, recycling the airflow within the fully sealed craft. 13. 360-degree radar detection and vision around the craft, a camera system combining multiple camera types, on each direction of the craft, project their image on the corresponding inner wall. All around 360 vision, as if looking out directly through the hull. 14. If for some unforeseen reason, you still get hit and even shot or otherwise forced down, and captured alive, you dazzle them with the onboard 360-degree full surround sound and vision entertainment system. Show them a sphere in space being cut through by a gigantic scary-looking laser. 15. Once an enemy stepped inside the craft, one could detect, and send, direct ear-bone stimulating audio messages, shaking their faiths. Or, turn it up a little too loud for them, stop increasing the localized volume right before their eardrums burst. 16. Double walls, false projected doors, secret escape hatches, mist, sound, light. Once they are inside your virtual 360 world, you can even pretend and make them believe you are beamed up. 17. Install a sleeping gas canister above the apparently only entrance/exit. They will want to enter the craft, suggested to them by design where they should attempt that. Lock them in and release the gas, while you alone are provided with fresh air. 18. Have a high-powered compressed wind be blown straight up through the grated floor of the craft's single narrow corridor, leading to the center, keep them suspended, without a foothold to stand upon. Unable to fight. 0.19. A strong electromagnet, hidden above in the same narrow ceiling, once powered on, collecting their weapons, disarming them, peacefully. 20. If you happen to have been forced down in the desert, the craft can produce a tight compressed air beam under the craft, in a radius around the ship, creating a quicksand effect. Getting your captors stuck in fluid sand, up to their waists or doors of their vehicles. 21. Tasers, hidden around the entrance area. Spray a watery mist on them, electrify it, non-lethally. 22. A rubber bullet, non-lethal, double-barreled minigun, aimed at the narrow entrance hallway. Paintballs also quite deter a potential foe in series of 50,000. 23. Eye tracking laser, detect the eyeball's distinctive shape, and reflection on it, then target the sharp focal area with a low-powered, yet continual laser, until they stop trying to actually see. If the eye is not detected, the laser will not fire. 24. Have a protective self-defense captain's staff. Fill it up with lithium-ion batteries, and install a plethora of directed frequency emitters on its head. Microwaves, disorienting eye laser tracker, temporarily blinding strobe mode, tasers firing forward, electrified mist, the sky is the limit. 25. Don't forget to have a little fun with your surface-dwelling prisoners, for instance have them swim back to the coast, through cold sea water, naked. Or hand them a few fig leaves for giggles. Regarding the Most High. What if the stars were God's icons? Imagine trillions of sensors, sensing light, lighting up their endings, twinkling ends of fiber optic cable ends, fixed, up most high in the firmament of our heaven. Connected straight to the All-Mind. The All-Seeing One, literally sensing everything that happens down here, in a single glance of his God's eye view. Literal divine super sensors, sensitive enough to capture and record every single last electromagnetic vibration, access to every single photon that ever moved, super zoom. Rewind, permanent super slow-mo access, judging our cast-down surface-dwelling souls to be worthy of saving, living freely among divinity, freed from all time and space. Or to be extinguished forever, eternally cut off from divinity by the messianic navel cord. Many of the Lord's eyes, e.g. translucent disc-shaped craft, could also easily be strategically hidden all right above our heads, bending light around them. Millions, camouflaged technologically, invisible to the human eye, knowing our full specs. Capturing data, taking it back up, syncing with the All-Mind, feeding its database of knowledge. A form of super-intelligence sensing all that occurs beneath them, writing down the royal record for the heavenly tablets. Fully monitoring his intellectual property, his subjects, his self-created reality which we all appear to be sharing. The pen has never been more mightier than the sword. Higher magnification zoom eyesight in different spectrums allows for more time seeing things highly detailed coming. What if our consciousness reaction speed was deliberately lowered? Knowing our thoughts instantly, enabling him to respond and move even before we are able to command our bodies to even move ourselves. Give himself a strategic timing advantage, blessing us with lag. I know I wouldn't. I never did like God mode enabled. When all the forces of nature are working to your advantage. What if we really did live inside the eye of the Lord? Narrow is the way, hallelujah. God might have an actual Dennis complex. Asterisk pop mic check. How could Mario ever prove to his brother Luigi, they were standing inside an all-surrounding skybox, including a linear pixelated floor, without the use of a raccoon hat for flight? Maybe the sun having eyes could be a hint. Square clouds Luigi, just look up. Regarding a 360-degree green screen entertainment center concept. Let's say you had possession of a personal shiny disc-shaped craft, this means you would actually have a great entertainment opportunity. Hosting for the most distinguished surface-dwelling guest on board your vessel. Simply have the guest wear AR glasses and thereby transform his eyesight. If you built in a 360-degree green screen entertainment system inside the craft, and 360-degree sound system, including 360-degree soul-shaking subwoofers. Ensuring your voice makes quite the impression. You could use the 360-degree screen to create any royally embellished virtual environment, representing an even bigger space than the ship's actual outer walls. One could present an entire different beautified version of any reality for selected distinguished guests on board your royal vessel. You could even center your personalized royal captain's chair in the center of the circular craft, making the entire experience all you, focusing a single highlight. Leading the focus and the eye on you, demonstrating full control of the craft including entertainment system, by mind. One could present a simple surface dwelling, still shackled by time soul great visions, provided great insight and even forged destinies. A simple surface dweller's mind can be impressed and steered quite easily. Just let them in on a few secret heavenly tablets, illuminating their face, as well as their minds. We might already be living inside a great green screen entertainment system, a Skybox 360-degree green screen entertainment system complete with surround sound audio. To reach the entirety of the base, in a single messianic message, it just was not built for our entertainment. No lips have to ever be moved, silent are the lips of the wise, as the more one knows, the less need he has for speech. Future digital archaeologists might read my entire Spacebook's Oracle space-time line, in reverse order. I wish I could buy a complete copy of my personal space-time line in printed out book form, including all of me and my friends' comments and illustrations. From the beginning up to now, would be a nice way to preserve my thought world. My personal cosmology and Larenzian school of thought, I almost typed an entire book already anyways. Perhaps Facebook could represent to us our entire timeline all around us, preserving it and make it easily accessible in the 360 metaverse. So many ways to represent data. Soul loosening apparatus concept. Perhaps our souls need a little help to loosen itself from its seat, a little stimulation to get things going. A special HMD could be designed, covering the eyes for increased focus, or the heightening of the senses by ending visual input, saving and/or freeing up processing power. Two magnets can be attached and used as audio frequency providers, on the left and right side of the head, placed over the ears, dampening outside audio sources, calming, relaxing and focusing the mind before its journey. E.g. plain headphones, perhaps inverted in their polarity to complete and augment the overall magnetic field created around the soul seat by the apparatus. Then finally two magnets can be placed over the third eye location, and one behind the head, completing the magnetic circuit, creating a push and a pull, a force acting on the soul seat. Perhaps loosening the soul from its seat, allowing us astrally travel. Or one could try a conflicting polarity, stirring chaos all around the soul, forcing it out of its seat by vibration and frequency. Maybe combine with a little knowledge of alchemy, like ayahuasca to send and blast your soul off to the most outer edges regions of intergalactic space most directly. Using electromagnetism to stimulate the soul in order to astral travel, the astral travel HMDTM could enable us to experiment and grow mentally and spiritually, because technology alone is not enough to entertain even the average soul. Technology is a tool, not the final goal. Knowledge for building wisdom is the goal. I wonder how much technology was actually built into a real pharaoh's headwear and to what purpose. Nanotechnology is quite small, and I don't suppose we get to observe the real interesting objects. They're hiding all the good stuff. Loads of self-defensive technology could be hidden into a staff shape, filled with lithium-ion batteries, quite powerful technology. Wow, I just learned Asclepius, which philosophy books I've read, actually. Literally means, to cut open, seriously, a immortal, surgeon, God, able to transplant the soul seed perhaps, thus being immortal? Amazing. Asterisk pop pop, mic check. I wonder how much technology was actually built into a real pharaoh's headwear and to what purpose. Nanotechnology is quite small, I don't suppose we get to observe the real interesting objects. They're hiding all the good stuff. Loads of self-defensive technology could be hidden into a staff shape, filled with lithium-ion batteries, quite powerful technology. Asterisk pop pop, mic check. Hypothesis, regarding immortality and the mobility of our soul chamber, and thus souls. I theorize, it is possible to not only have a soul, as I have, not only that, mine appears to be locked inside my body, somehow. Next question was how and where. I have seen enough indirect evidence to have been pointed to the concept of our pineapple pineal gland, as to be the location of the human soul. The house as it were, the seat for holding our soul flame. Then what is it? Is this organ specifically designed to encapsulate and house a soul, to somehow keep it there, locked? How? How would the seat keep my soul there exactly? How was it designed to do so, and how can I simulate, stimulate, and copy nature? It appears to have to do with bioelectricity perhaps, as the soul appears locked, right up until it is apparently released by death. It might sense when the pilot seat is no longer powered and when it is time to move on, as perhaps the soul is electro-biomagnetically locked to the seat. As nature appears to use electromagnetism, maybe a device can be contrived with two magnets of the same polarity, one placed in front, and one placed behind the person's processing dome, creating a pulling and a pushing force working in tandem, possibly loosening up the soul from its seat. Almost like an audio headset containing magnets, or a combination of the two, also playing a nice frequency perhaps, in order to calm and relax the mind before the commencement of its journey. That would make the soul's loosening device have 4 magnets total, placed around the seat. 2 besides the dome over the ears, and 1 in front of the soul seat and 1 behind the soul seat location using the head as a firmament. I think it is possible to transplant the human soul, by transplanting the entire pineal gland organ designed to hold the soul, between bodies. Once the soul then wakes up and returns to consciousness, while contained in the new vessel, it will possibly have access to all the memory banks of the other vessel, enabling it to learn extremely fast, or to survive on in a different vessel. Maybe the gland can be separated, kept alive outside of the starter body for study and then be transplanted into a robotic or synthetic vessel, if the synthetic vessel can keep the pineal gland alive. As it is just biologically sophisticated technology, hook it up and keep it alive, simulating the seat synthetically or at least functioning as a suited seat. Maybe keep one soul alive outside of a body next to the body first, see if it results in an outer body experience for the subject's soul. Sounds testable. Science is all about proving things and experimentation, right? Or not so much in this field, I suppose. Don't be doing weird experiments with dragon bodies or any of that type of weird shit, just human, all the rest is bestiality. Never fuck down, always fuck up, big. If we manage to scan and model the entirety of the gland perfectly, we can perhaps convert a soul into combined 2D and 3D data, 2D data for the thoughts, 3D data for the actual house blueprint schematics, allowing us to transport the soul's data wirelessly, perhaps one day even between planes. Building Wi-Fi stargates to send the soul data, not the body. There is no need for any real travel and wear on the actual bodysuit. Doing away with the actual need for any anti-gravity or the bending of winter space-time. No need to waste all this time on board a boring spaceship, no need for any flashes in the sky. Life is still best lived on a plane, I suppose. The faster we can print or grow and produce an entire human body, the faster we can perform the switching operation, the faster we can provide a vessel. The faster we can travel between locations, between planes of existence, and maybe later on upon our winter space-time line there would be no more need for an actual operation at all. Adding more thought and Sophia/sophistication, or wisdom to the process. This would also mean a certain immortality for mankind, as the soul could then be transplanted into vessel after vessel. The vessel can house an assistant AI for help, augmenting the growth of the soul with better and multiple lenses, hires, UV, night vision, stronger printed bones. You can have your own body scanned and used as a genetic blueprint to be reassembled with ultra-durable, lightweight yet strong parts, like a replica of your own skull in glass for instance. Or gold is rumored to have nice properties. Augmentation and personalization of the vessel will become a thing. We already send our thought through space wirelessly, it's just not automated enough yet to resemble telepathic commutation between minds without words. Use a device to capture the thought, convert to data, send it wirelessly, then, the receiver device would convert the data back to audio, or even an image, stimulate the skull or ear bones directly. Basic playback, silently. Simple. it would be like magic to a person without the technology. Also quite powerful if you have access to the technology together with a friend, and the unsuspecting third has no idea you two could communicate by mind. Very powerful, possibly deceitful, as all technology is merely as good as its user. Or, find and use an even better suited material with the desired properties for achieving your life's purpose, if you have one. Maybe an improved battery source for guaranteed continual locomotion of the synthetic vessel. I'd for one would like a body with built-in wings, that'd be nice for my perspective. I could be the first human to be in a symbiotic relationship with my self-designed disc-shaped craft, have my soul seat and soul mounted in the ship, become the actual ship's mind processor. Have my mind actually become as one with it. Controlling it, by mind, blown. Maybe these giant Egyptian skulls had these large protective hats in order to hide the signs of a transplant. Maybe they are evidence of a soul jump already, the skull bones would not lie. If a soul could access another body's experiences, it could live an eternity of generations and keep growing and shaping the soul on and on through Earth's school. Some pharaohs were written to have lived and ruled for a long time, compared to the standard human template. I should actually examine these skulls to find out if they did brain surgery, and where exactly, as they sure knew what they were doing, before attempting such a thing. You better have a good reason to attempt such an operation, like survival. They will point us to the correct location if I am mistaken about the pineal gland being the human soul seat, but my soul says, probably not. Our bodies are like biologically grown, super technological VR glasses or transceivers for the soul. Why not enhance and upgrade these vessels, as they did long before us? I don't exactly know what data is kept with, or written by the soul. We probably have some built-in ROM memory, transported with the soul, and some external memory in the local brain centers. Speech center, etc. A used body already has some of its memory used, some time already logged. A fresh body is merely grown without any input ever, no outside stimulation, grown without a soul. Science will figure it out, I'm sure, once they are looking in the right location, heroes and saviors as they are, for a price. Would be weird to do a transplant with your best friend, a mind melt. A body swap, immortality, anything would become possible. I would like my first passed away body to be cleared from its intestines, stuffed back up, then embalmed and cast in translucent epoxy or ember. Raise me up and remove the outside cast, then time-lapse the entire decay process, if any, for science. I guess I never did like to throw stuff out. Why would a true king or pharaoh do away his old majestic vessel? Maybe multiple glands can be hooked up to the tree of life apparatus all at once, enabling a completely new dimension and shared reality for these souls to move around in, freely. Motherships probably use multiple fluent minds to control it as a whole. Figure out if the soul is kept there, then figure out how the soul is kept in there, and then we can replicate it, simulate it, recreate it. Immortality, however, is not for the common man, as not many can handle true immortality, not many can bear it, not many can live with themselves for an eternity. Not many are strong enough minds to continue 1,000 years as I will. In the end, one might choose to return the source by will, as knowing thyself, is to know God. Be well. As a side note, I have no suicidal tendencies. As a second side note, every single last angel could look reptilian in their true form and at the same time human in appearance, at will, as they were all of a single race. Not just the fallen ones happen to share in their satanic appearance. Why do you think we do not get so see them, or any others? How do we know the entire garden wasn't filled with them serpents, owned by them serpent? Why weren't we allowed any images? An Angle's AI-like mind could even be merged with a whirlwind vehicle, or an augmented, winged vessel. The vessel can have a built-in inner 360-degree green screen, able to show and demonstrate to a simple soul great visions on board the disc-shaped craft, representing a much wider reality. Bigger than the ship's outer hull. The screen can be used to create any virtual environment and presentation style. Perhaps controlled by the ship's mind, through perhaps an angelic AI. Why is it an abomination to mingle seed with earth dwellers? Why did they not want us to learn reading and writing? Why never show the face? Why destroy and confuse our languages? Why spread us out over the face of the earth? Fear if you tell me, either ours, or theirs, or both. Why would they keep a lesser version of us, or themselves actually, down here? Sort of like their genetic backup seed bank? Organ donors. We pierce through the veil of time, learn to master our surroundings. Maybe people experiencing out-of-body experiences during surgery, something changes, something happens to the gland, when sedated. The gland appears to detect the apparent state of death or trauma to the body. Or the gland is stimulated by a certain motion or chemical, used during the operation. Something must be able to trigger it. If a pyramid was built and used to capture fresh water through condensation, using the galleries to suck in fresh air containing water from the outside. Having a central fire then vaporize it, and a cold capstone on top to cool it back to the water state, capturing life's elixir, in the middle of the desert. In order to be able to survive and irrigate the local surroundings, it would probably be large enough to provide an entire subterranean city of fresh water right below it. And also suggests to me it was not your choice to be down here if you perform this large a miracle for survival, this specific location. Perhaps the first pharaohs crashed down here, when their sky boat broke and had to survive down here using their incredible knowledge of nature for their survival. Using his large green head and meteorite-made pocket dagger. The underworld was never disproven. Only when the system is reproduced in a smaller size can we demonstrate it to be true and understood. Maybe a scale model of a pyramid can be experimented with, however, they did not use stone and metals by accident. A good capstone might be charged up by heat of the sun, to then release the heat by night, using the heat somehow, perhaps to create liquid water. Pool-sized 3D resin printing concept. Water could be used to automatically level entire 3D printers. If the entire printer including the print bed was made to float on a bed of water, it would always be perfectly level automatically. Maybe we can print a buoyant plastic material, directly on the level still water bed. If the printer accounts for buoyancy of total material amount used. Print the object up while it floats. Or using the water itself as a curing solution, use the UV light for solidification underwater. Like in a pool-sized printing environment. Much larger 3D resin prints could be made a reality. For like building disc shapes, used for drones or panels for dome repairs. A crane can be placed above the pool to raise the cured print up above the water line of the resin printing pool. If there is just water and no pool, the 4 truss beams can be made to float buoyantly, automatically leveled by the water the printer floats on. Or use a few pre-made disc-shaped craft to move the prints in and out of place. Maybe they printed Earth's dome in a single go, as an entire buoyant pre-designed system. 4 truss beams are easily risen anywhere, then connected above, to have the classic 3D printer set up above the water level. Floating solar-powered desalination apparatus concept. If a certain circular and buoyant shape has a translucent top and bottom, E.G material allowing sunlight through its firmament for heat, and while also remaining buoyant in sea water. Allowing ocean winds to pass through tiny holes in the top shape, providing the friction with cold, one could perhaps let in salt water in, via the bottom of the shape by specific design of the shape. perfectly measured at all times by balance. This salt water let-in could be vaporized by heating it electrically below combined with solar heat and perhaps active cooling, on top. Maybe some type of gas or cooling mechanism placed inside the top tip's negative space. The electricity could be captured by using the outside of the top of the shape, using solar panels. The vaporized water could also be automatically captured by clever design of shape, separating the waters from the waters, forcing the now heavier water droplets formed, forcing them down by shape in the center of the top, capturing them in a center cup, also by design of a single shape. The mass below stabilizes the platform, and provides pressure changes inside the apparatus, as the outer tide creates EB and flood effects inside. The mass is spread out and well balanced, and the pressure on the lower inlet forces in new measures of salt water automatically. The entire shape can be cut in half, for easier 3D printing. Both halves cut, have a flat and leveled circular base, later to be perfectly joined together for attaining function out of the shapes. One could hang a mass below the floating apparatus for platform stabilization. The entire apparatus could act as a middle-of-the-ocean freshwater station, for different types of ships to dock it, refill and continue their missions. Provided the mechanism is well understood, well designed, the scale no longer matters. A lot of fresh water could be created per floating unit/aqua dock. Providing known strategic locations with fresh water. The shape is pretty sophisticated, pretty versatile, divine almost, as if the entire Earth was somehow a giant desalination system. Transforming salt water from the sea, in turn having fresh water fall, in the center, guided back to the sea by rivers. Weird coincidence, I'm sure. They probably won't let me patent nature. When the night has come and the land is dark, and the moon is the only light we'll see. No, I won't be afraid. No, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me. So darlin', stand by me, oh stand by me. Oh stand by me, stand by me. If the sky that we look upon should tumble and fall, or the mountains should crumble to the sea. Notice how in the second image the great deep looks eerily similar to a bigger ocean the structure floats upon. Weird. Almost like there's some type of foundations hanging beneath the structure. Filling up exactly half the sphere with matter, could allow it to float, and have an automatically leveled biome growing floor. If Atlantis had a similar circular double structure, it might have to rise, every once in a long while, refreshing their air supply, before sinking down again, into the Atlantic Ocean, not to be seen for a long time. Celestial disco ball concept. Would be cool to have something like a motorized celestial disco ball, slowly turning a lens-shaped reflective mirror glass hemisphere, or something like a prism. Add a little bit of water and a laser projector beneath it, to create a celestial spectacle of shimmering rainbow light, room-wide. Light that we think of as information, lest us not forget its beauty. The laser can project 360-degree data, encrypted in the laser light, unseen between source and disco ball, and have this laser light decrypted by the solid shape of the reflective top hemisphere. Distributing and outputting all the locational data evenly spread out again, all over a room. Have the projector project normally unseen star clusters, the Milky Way, galaxies, just exaggerate the light data just a little, so it's visible among the stars without all the expensive equipment. The Magellan Clouds, Orion's belt, could even have a remote control perhaps, to have specific objects enlarged during the simulation a certain direction or wall. If the device could be matched with our actual compass directions, and the orientation of your house was set, you could use a wall interactively, selecting planets for beautiful close-up projections. Right up on your personal wall, perhaps someday, updated with live information, passed into the central projector, wirelessly. If the projector projects 360-degree information, knowing there is a 360-degree final projection screen, after reflection at a certain known distance and location, then this can actually make an entire room into a 360-degree virtual computer desktop, using every wall as a virtual surface to project upon. One could project his own throne room superimposing tight white walls. Government knows best who they need for the task. They have access to information about the biggest national or even international criminals. And not just information, sensitive things they don't need others to know, life or death type of information. They just happen to also write the laws themselves, have most money for legal action, bankrupting opponents into submission, legally. Driving some out of work, legally, while creating work for others, legally. They give you fines for not complying, while their banks print up their money, forcing you to work, directly for the state, in actual man-hours. At least you still get to choose, mostly, how to get the money together, if quick enough, or else. Year after year people keep trying, voting better, voting harder, and in the end, they just missed it by a few %, sometimes lost by a single vote, lost by a hair of a difference. Year after year, and yet, it just will not dawn on them. Things just happen to be the way they are, it's all just a big coincidence, shit happens, move on man. That's ancient history, man. Nearly all but a few of the US presidents are in the same family tree, so what? It's not like they are bred for the presidency. They would never be able to rig an entire first world country that far up, you conspiracy theorist. They could not have faked the moon landings because my grandfather made them the bolts by hand himself personally, he saw the launch happen live on TV, with his own eyes. Man, get the fuck out of here with that nonsense. Too many people would have needed to be in on it, man, you serious? No planes ever hit the towers, CGI planes. Rigged demolition, are you sure you are feeling okay, man? They went into Baghdad's museum first thing after arrival? What would they even want those stupid old dusty ancient tablets for anyway, man? Don't be silly. And then your house gets taxed a little more, but who cares, we only put in a few hours extra in this month, our boys need some spending money, can't fix it if it ain't broke. And they're right, my house is worth more now than it was last year, so I'm benefiting there. Look, man, there's a war going in the Ukraine, you'll just gonna have to pay us more, it's a mess out there. Those crazy Russian bastards are to blame for all this nationally created problem. Hurrah Marine, off you go, next mission on the other side of the world, in some third world country, gotta protect the motherland over there. Hollywood movies, fooling people into induced false heroism, false shame, and fake guilt, using their movies for shaming people into eternal reparations, in their own country. Oh America, how you have fallen. Oh Europe, how you have fallen. Can't wait for the new world order, just get it over with already. Einstein believed the universe was static, Hubble proved to him, e.g. convinced him with his explanation, for what he himself, thinks and believed he first observed. His conclusion was already made immediately, before the interpretation of the observation was shared. Hubble saw lights moving apart, and from this fact, incorrectly inferred from it, the entire universe must expand. This conclusion, however, is not the only possible solution to explain the observation Hubble made. The universe is static, the optical properties of our equipment, and our atmosphere, are not. As a matter of fact, the universe is so incredibly static, even any motion at all must be inferred from the apparent shapes of galaxies, to be exact. They appear frozen in time, perhaps because they indeed are, frozen, fixed. Heat up the atmosphere, and you change its optical properties, expanding our light bubble's horizon, forcing lights apart, all at the same rate. What's more logical to you, our atmospheric pressure and thus volume expanding, on which we observe these lights, or our entire universe expanding, in all directions equally, at the same rate? You tell me. I don't need bangs to explain the apparent expansion of our visible and optical universe, not even big bangs, as the bangs I know of only happen in space, and do not create none. These people lost the plot a long time ago. Lights, or luminaries moving apart, are not proof of our entire universe expanding. For the cause one must look much closer to Earth, yet somehow they keep finding evidence, for what they already believe to be. General relativity is just wrong. Your gut feeling was right all along. You knew the emperor had no clothes on. It's plain nonsense. You do not need an actual explanation for gravitational quantum gravity, because gravity is the solution to a non-existing problem, just like the entire universe is not expanding, but optically. The problems they are trying to solve do not exist in any reality, like how black holes and time travel nonsense are resulting in the most stupid paradoxical mind-twisting fakery to get you lost in. Deliberately. They literally drown you in nonsense, until you cannot climb all the way back up anymore. Drowning you with small nonsensical details, making you lose sight of the bigger picture, on purpose. If no one corrects these utter fools, you will hear the exact same stupid hypothetical storylines, parrot back to you, time after time, for the rest of your entire lives. For crying out loud, they are inferring mass, based on lights, in the sky. They perform astrophysics. Off of photos. Captured light. And then they can't seem to figure out even themselves how their imaginary gravity even works, because it must exist. Geez, I wonder why. They keep us so incredibly busy with nonsense, hiding the fact we can't go, while explaining to you the reasons why we can't go. Space is hard, space is expensive, space is too high everywhere. They can't go anywhere and they are hiding it using scientism TV priest, lulling minds to sleep with this nonsense, paradox after paradox, silly children's story, one after another. Sending you to look here, look there, you apparently do not understand enough, go study this, go study that, presenting nothing new the last 30 years. Or even more if you still believe these moon landing myths they push, told by people whose great-grandfather worked on the lunar module, creating the bolts for it. I mean, how many Teslas in space with a fake glitching Earth background is it going to take people? High time to find out what is hiding behind the curtains. There's a reason they invented the globe, there is always a reason. Seriously, why do you think they don't let us know others exist? Because others aren't as dumbed down and enslaved perhaps, and on top of that they destroy any of these scientific fantasy stories in minutes, dying from laughter. Regarding crepuscular rays, and clouds. Many times I have observed these beautiful rays through the clouds, breaking the light in a highly specific pattern. And I have also noticed that these rays and clouds are often located right above the same body of fresh water, the same approximate location around my home's location. I then started wondering why this would be. Well, if a shiny reflective disc-shaped craft would happen to hide among these clouds, using it as natural camouflage, to cover their contactless fresh water uptake. Then I begin to understand what my eyes are actually observing. If a disc-shaped craft drove microwaves straight down onto the surface of a fresh body of water, it could heat up and excite the water molecules below, enough to make them rise straight up. Capture them above as condensation, then recondensate back to a fluid watery state, creating water from out of the captured vapor. Allowing for fresh water intake, without actually landing the craft. I don't consider this theft, I suppose, as every living being has the right to and need of fresh water for its survival. However, this tells me they have to actually come down once in a while, or perhaps even regularly, repeatedly using the same locations to perform their magic trick. And also not every body of water is fresh, as this saves them a lot of time. Not having to convert salt water, saving them valuable energy. This also tells me they cannot get hydrogen power from out of the cloud's water vapor directly. I wonder what happens, if someone were to suddenly surprise them, and blew away the clouds from around it, exposing it, filming the highly specific location with heat detection equipment. They might be able to bend light, but they cannot hide their heat signature. They can't tell me not to send up a drone, to something that isn't actually there. These crepuscular rays through clouds are possibly a way to hard detect these shiny disc-shaped craft. With them inside thinking they are camouflaged, but the sun actually exposing their solidity and location among the clouds. Regarding the moment pre-solar eclipse. The few minutes before a predicted solar eclipse, the suddenly appearing moon will slowly move in front of our sun, moving into the line between the sun and us. The observer located on the ground. However, their close apparent location in our sky, the phase observed on the moon, remains the same dark circle, and we do not observe any change in phase dynamically, none. We should be observing the lit area and dark area change dramatically during these motions. We should also be seeing a black, dark, cast shadow from behind the moon, across our entire sky, yet we do not. The moon's sphere does not cast any shadow behind it in our daytime sky, as a solid sphere in free space is expected to do. Hypothesis, regarding the zodiac. If you start connecting the dots in the sky, on a different date and location, and a different turning direction, you'll have made up an entire southern hemisphere in no time. I wonder if the unique zodiacal ring is somehow mirrored left to right or up and down. If you look at the same constellations upside down, while turning the other way, you'll probably connect the exact same dots, very differently. The 12 zodiacal signs are all the signs we have. Coincidentally, all of them are to be found fixed on the northern hemisphere. No zodiacal signs are observed in the southern hemisphere. Now, I have this feeling, people never noticed, they named the exact same stars twice, from different locations on the Earth. Some see the sun, moon, and stars move left to right, and some see them move right to left. Southern hemisphere, looking to half the stars being close, and the other half across all of the disk towards the center north. This depends on whether you stand within the sun's equatorial circle above the Earth, or if you are standing outside of the sun's equatorial circle and where your night's direction is located. No need to stand upside down on a sphere to get this observation. An observer standing on the opposite side of a slowly turning disk will do. I would like to get my hands on a translucent planisphere, maybe have them perfectly and automated laser engraved exactly, onto translucent disks. Now I will take one of the disks, representing a single hemisphere, flip it and place it on top of the other hemisphere. We can then rotate one hemisphere until all of our entire night sky matches up near perfectly, and with even the entire Milky Way's image matched. This can seal the deal. It would not be hard to match both of them up, as our brains are already wired for symmetry recognition. Or assumption rather, as we like to be able to assume in one quick observation, what the left side or the back side of an object would look like, assuming this using symmetry. But our sense of symmetry is so strong, we even recognize it both flipped and inverted. We also have access to exact star locations, and elevations, precise to the arcsecond, precise degrees above the visible horizon, known locations that could be matched up as absolute locations by a computer, programmed a little differently. If the star positions match up in reverse, This can seal the deal. A good starting point for reference might be the Big Dipper's trapezium shape. The relative angles within the trapezium never change, but these fixed location coordinates, in relation to the other stars, making up the trapezium shape, can be inverted or mirrored by a computer easily. The process of looking for angular symmetry can be done automatically, resulting perhaps in matching star coordinates, matching for both hemispheres, of which one was initially mirrored. Several signs have certain peculiar relative angles forming specific shapes in them, which might enable us to match these specific shapes up between hemispheres. Second option would perhaps then be the Belt of Orion. The Belt of Orion has three distinctive stars in them, lined up in an apparent line, formed by three stars, of which one is a little off with a specific angle between them, never changing relative to each other. These three stars forming a never-changing line might be found inverted, or upside down, among what are counted as the southern hemisphere stars. A third possibility of gathering proofs perhaps is to look at the exact assumed properties and times of stars of a certain size rising above our respective horizons. Matching exact times of specific noticeable stars rising, comparing them and matching them up between hemispheres. The zodiacal stars can be mirrored left to right, top to bottom, or even under an angle of rotation as the observations were and are done, from different locations on Earth. Looking in different directions, at certain times, relative to our Sun's orbit above the Earth. Spring will apparently restart every single star's location, in the entire observable universe. Hello. No one wonders how this is actually possible? Please look at the image of the two hemispheres. You can already envision how these two halves might just fit together like a hand in glove. Seriously. I personally think even the loose images drawn, the symbolic signs, based on the stars, will almost be able to be mirrored as well. For instance, the Libra symbol resembles the Taurus symbol when mirrored, and if I remember correctly, are located opposing each other, on the zodiacal ring. The ancients might have mirrored half of the 6 images into 12 already, before modern astronomy created 24 out of the 12, sort of speak. If the sun only ever shows us half the zodiacal ring, at any one time, eternally washing out the stars on the sun's day location and people opposing this location, created by the sun. See the same 6 ever available zodiacal signs, but turning in the exact other direction. And also possibly mirrored by looking through the entire light inverting like a crystal sphere atmosphere first. It already might have confused them enough into making up an entire second half of the zodiacal ring, naming the same 6 visible and available only constellations, as they are observed. Rotating in the reverse direction, as well as possibly being mirrored on top of that. A single star cannot be named. We are only able to name them, because of the stars surrounding it, coming up over our horizon, in the exact same order we know of, and can predict, year after year, forever. How? If an entire half of our entire night sky happened to be completely invented, using a second perspective, why do you think they would do that? Why? Looking through our atmosphere is like looking through a glass of water, inverting the image. If you held a right arrow behind the glass, you would observe it as a left arrow. The image is inverted, like a crystal ball does, up and down, so does every atom in our atmosphere, act as a light affecting lens, warping the entire image. Here's a proof towards my hypothesis. The Al-Sufi drew each constellation on 2 mirrored ways. One as we see it and one on the dome. He probably knew how they would look inverted in their direction from different locations or hemis on Earth. Got to research this Al-Sufi. He drew a mirror image to be able to recognize them when standing on different locations on Earth. Amazing synchronicity here. Wow, it were the Dutch inventing the entire southern hemisphere, because they did not understand they saw the same stars turn in reverse, the Dutch renamed the same stars in the southern hemisphere. And now another Dutch man is explaining what they did not understand and why it was doubly named. Wow, what synchronicity! It even literally states they invented these southern constellations. There were so little so they filled it up. They did not understand the Earth disk turns and we observe the exact same constellations, only in reverse across the entire disk. Mind blown. They invented the southern hemisphere, completely fabricated it starting at a different date, naming the exact same stars we do in the northern one. The only one, looking different from opposite locations. In Australia they see the sun from right to left, here we see it left to right, same for the constellation moving in opposite directions, seen at two different times. The day is not visible, on half the flat Earth, only half of the dome is night at one time. One's night is always looking in, the other's might, is always looking outward. It's a brilliant way to create a double sphere from a flat Earth with a single dome, only one set of stars, named by the first theme. Ryan's only named one half because there only actually is one dome. No one ever noticed even the constellation symbols are nearly mirrored opposite the ring. Even the symbols look highly similar and mirrored in their appearance. Let's see if I can make it rain without any clouds, see if I can get it to stick to the ball, you never know. If you ever felt rain, without any clouds to be seen, now you know how. Notice how the ball reverses all light shown through it. This is exactly what every single water atom in our atmosphere does, all working together, providing a total surface for light to be seen upon, yet individually invert light that passes through it. The spherical form has two lens shapes in it, the dome top structure has only one lens shape in it, acting on light, making it visible by providing it a solid enough surface. I was thinking how nets are used in the desert to capture water from the atmosphere, and I'm not sure, but I though will it's probably the hot desert floor still giving off heat at night. Combined with a stream of colder night wind blowing along the net, creating a friction between the heat and cold, resulting in the cooling of the vapor, turning it more solid through the process of condensation. Next thought was, how do I speed up this process? If I created more wind, or created a higher temperature under a cup in the middle and then it suddenly hit me, pyramids. Pyramid means fire in the middle. Now why would there be a fire in the middle, if not to create your own source of water, in the middle of the desert, inside the pyramid? Using the self-created heat combined with the colder night wind, blowing through its beautiful tunnels. Maybe they created the fire, inside the pyramid, in order to create their own, easily and well protected, fresh water source, in the middle of the desert, living as gods. Table-sized personal planetarium projector concept. Well, the shapes in the drawing actually say it all, but here we go again. A single light source fixed within the center shape, has a circular top hole, allowing the passage of light, and a translucent, laser-engraved disc made of glass, containing all the known stars covering it. This way if the entire device turns, so do all the stars change actual perceived location, except of course for the one, the most direct, the most bright. One in the center, being projected straight up, having the shortest distance to the outer wall, thus is most apparent brightness. This might be the cause, as to why, the Polaris appears to be a center, of all stars, and as to why, it is the brightest inside our night sky. Because the most bright star must have the shortest distance, when using a single source, therefore it must be exactly above us, in the apex of the dome shape. This explains why north is always in the center direction of the entire disk. The center of north is up, connecting down. Two opposite side holes can be made to give access again to the same central light source, get it? Central sun, anyway, one hole will act as to simulate our sun, a bright disk, maybe even a lens can be placed over the light passing hole, to simulate heat or a sharper sun's image. Drowning and washing out all the stars, the area it is lighting, note that the size will be the exact same diameter as the hole for simulating our moon. And as the sun thus always automatically opposes the star side that indeed remain visible, exactly. During the day can place the simulator's sun in the direction of your real sun's location. If all the timings match, you'll have correctly set your device up to match the outside with your inside. The location of the night, opposite the sun, will actually change and rotate with the sun, visibly on your wall. Without anyone in the simulation ever noticing that fact, because their entire east and west rotate with them, their entire environment turns, while north remains the actual same. The non-moving center location, and south is just everywhere opposite north. None of the surface-dwelling inhabitants would ever notice as their entire environment rotates with them, thus the compass can always function, and just keep pointing to the fixed non-moving center, north. The hole for the moon is covered by a translucent disk with the moon's surface features laser engraved in them, allowing us to simulate the moon's only visible face, with a single translucent disk. How convenient. This solves how our one-way projector is enough to always be able to show the moon's only visible face, just like a projection would. Actually, it's quite funny. If we had a flat disk, one face the moon, and the backside black, we could simulate its phases by simply turning the disk. Same for the sun, a disk with on it one face the sun, and the backside black. If we then slowly turn the disk, a solar eclipse would slowly appear to occur for a far observer on the surface. Like a translucent one-way mirror perhaps. One way translucent, the other way light blocking through it. One could go a step further in table simulation, and have a black circular disk that can rotate in front of either the sun or the moon. Or kept still in front of the sun or moon to simulate a super close-up of an actual black hole. Have a black hole on demand, pausing the simulation. Place the black disk slowly in front of the moon or slowly in front of the sun in order to simulate our eclipses in a timely manner. As we know when and where these events occur and what the cycles are. Because lasers are not observed, between source and surface, one could place a laser inside a centrally placed mountain, covering and hiding the laser source under the mountain's top rim, thus only displaying the stars above, as seen on the surface projected upon. There, where the laser meets the edge, is where the stars are seen. Maybe project through a little layer of water to get the sparkling effect. This concept could be used for my larger scale biome simulator concept, hiding the yearly turning laser projector inside a central mountain, inaccessible by the subjects in the experiment. The sun could also be hidden inside the earth, shining up a projection of it, up and out through a central mountain, then seen up against our dome, for all to see upon the surface. Multiple stories have been written about several people who actually have seen the inner Earth's central sun, personally, people I believe. A single apex prism stone, hit with a strong white laser, could reflect out and literally project every other star we observe on the night sky. This would also unite every star on our night sky, to the same apparent frequency of the source, and link them all together through it. Because everything rotates around a central north, the entire outer rim is south, and because everything turns east or west, with the entirety of their environment. No one inside the simulation can or will notice the location of the night changes outside of the dome shape. And their entire night sky is entirely made up simply by light alone. If we tell them, they will have no need to ever invent astrophysics. Saves them a few paradoxes, as gravity is a solution to a non-existent problem, and perfect circles in absolute space are ellipses drawn on paper. I guess all I have to do now is just keep following north, to find the center sun. Bon voyage. Only 2 spots left on my arc-shaped craft for a hero, and arcs are best built, before the flood. If you start connecting dots in the sky, on a different date and location, and a different turning direction, you'll have a southern hemisphere in no time. I wonder if the unique zodiacal ring is somehow mirrored left to right or up and down. If you look at the same constellations upside down, you'll probably connect the same dots, very differently. So in order to reach the center of the Earth, I would need a rough shopping list for my heavenly transport, divided by 4 seats for people sharing the dream. 2 large 3D printed squashed hemispheres, 16x drone motor, 16x battery, 16x solar panel, 8x top, 8x bottom, 2x heli motors, 2x heli rotors, 2x heli swash plates. 4x, 6x, or 8x microjet turbines placed in a row, inside a cylinder. Might be doable for 15K per seat, under 60K total, might be a little short without serious R&D. I think 1 seat might already be taken, leaving 2 seats open for some hero, I suppose. The drone jet craft or winged disc will mostly fly electrically, with Faraday shielded motors, for safety, and when the batteries are empty, can just float on water and recharge them through solar panels, then continue the journey by air once more after some charging time. 4x parachutes can be installed in the top hemi for further safety, on top of the 16 shielded motors with separated different electrical circuits that will not be able to all fail the same time. The shape is highly aerodynamic, storm, radar, bullet, and perhaps even hydrophobic and laser deflective. Low flight far around cities will be safest, but safety cannot be guaranteed. Keep tracking that North Star direction until we reach the center of the Earth, past the pole. Telepathic communication concept. When speaking, the generated sounds are partly reflected against our teeth, bouncing around inside our mouths while we speak. A sort of a reflection pattern or auditorium. If we modeled a person's mouth cavity, including teeth exactly, using an inverted mold, and applied it as a 3D space signature, defining the walls to simulate the space and its boundaries, we could probably recreate a better matching sound or speech signature, simulating or synthesize a specific person's voice in a more exact manner. You could basically hear your own voice as another person would experience it. This voice synthesis can come in handy for when we manage to capture and transform brainwaves to words, words to bits, bits sent wirelessly, bits transformed back to words. Words played back as brainwaves, translated by the mind back into words, in the sender's own exact voice, played back in the mind, silently, miniatured. The sender's voice packet and signature can be sent wirelessly, so the receiver's device can use it for playback in the sender's natural voice. So, the absolute proof for space-time and it actually bending, was based on a photo, where during a solar eclipse, stars appeared to be located, in unexpected locations. Thus space-time flipped on, exactly during the eclipse, so man could snap a lightning-quick snapshot, to allow us to compare the before and after of the great space-time switching on and off. So we could actually point to the optical difference, of space-time being switched on and off, and use that difference, as proof of space-time's existence, and its bendy nature to prove it. As soon as the eclipse was over, all of space-time was luckily restored once more to its former original state fully, and the world lived happily after. Now blessed with the knowing that space-time bends, partly, sometimes, for sure. I guess summer space-time is a little more bendy than winter space-time, but I wonder if the moon's atmosphere was the actual cause of the light bending around it, compressed towards us. Particles acting like a natural encompassing lens shape. Matter, is known and proven, to act on light, gravity, not so much. Gravity might explain elliptical orbits, but those are only found on paper, not in actual space, as a sphere in space is a circle on paper, but a ring in space is an ellipse on paper. Ellipses are circular, in nature. Gravity is the solution to a non-existing problem, as is bending space-time the solution to promoting a fool. Precalculation, allowing perfect simulation, is proof of fixation, and therefore creation. Would it not be funny, if man was just staring, night after night, super close up, at dust on a dome? If we recorded the focus setting of a telescope digitally, would that not encapture some form of focal distance information in it? Like if we focused on stars all around us, recording their apparent location, then using the focus to determine a certain distance to it, would result in a lot of inverse data. Probably describing a dome shape, and not a half-spherical shape. All depends on what mapping you use anyway. Can LiDAR then perhaps be used to scan the inside of our dome? Or a souped-up laser rangefinder? A laser rangefinder can only measure inside, up to the end of our atmosphere, as lasers cease to exist in space. At least no laser light can reflect back from a location outside our atmosphere back to Earth. So the end of the laser beam's location would become the distance measured to the end of the atmosphere. Sometimes the laser's beam will appear longer, and sometimes the laser beam will appear to be shorter, as the end of the atmosphere is the end of visible matter, is the end of a return signal. Is the distance which can be seen to vary, by looking at the length of the laser beam itself, while pointing in different locations. Maybe a bundled up group of lasers can demonstrate even more clear if the beams visually appear longer or shorter, variably in their length while changing direction in or across space. Regarding the search for dark matter, just stop looking, and start thinking. The backside of every object found in space, in relation to our point of perspective and the location of a non-local sun, or source lighting this far object. The information of dark matter, is not transported by light, ever. Darkness contains no information to begin with, they are shadows in space. Only half of everything in space can be seen, in one look, one observation, one location, one direction, one elevation. One vanishing point for our point of perspective allows us only to see half of every object, be it a sphere or otherwise. If a non-local